These are called blue tears, a bioluminescent algae bloom in China, but it hides a dangerous secret. Chine Uncensored, I'm Chris Chappell. This episode is sponsored by MOVA globes. These globes are amazing. They spin on their own without cords or batteries. And whether you get this black and silver model or one of their other great world map designs, you can appreciate the beauty of our planet and our oceans. And you'll want to appreciate the oceans while you can, before they're turned into glowing toxic sludge. This is a recent piece by Chinese state-run CGTN. Blue tears light up the waters of a beach in southeast China. A natural phenomenon called blue tears illuminated the waters. The blue tears are the result of a chemical reaction called bioluminescence. Wow, how magical! Except what Chinese state-run media don't tell you is that it's actually incredibly toxic. Beautiful, but incredibly toxic? Sounds like every one of my exes. The microscopic organisms that make that beautiful blue glow aren't just toxic, they also deplete the oxygen levels in the water, killing everything else. Scientists aren't entirely sure what causes blue tears, but they suspect that agricultural pollution, like chemical fertilizer, runs off into the massive Yangtze River and then gets dumped into the ocean. That gives the blue tears the massive dose of nutrients it needs to grow. So it uses toxins to make itself more beautiful. Just like using Botox. Wow, how magical. This is part of a much bigger problem, which is the Chinese Communist Party is destroying the oceans. Not just the oceans around China, but globally.
China is the world's leading ocean polluter. China is the top source of plastic bottles, bags, and other rubbish clogging up global sea lanes.
They've unleashed even more plastic on the world than Kris Jenner. I'll have more after this quick commercial break. Welcome back. China has devastated the world's oceans in a variety of ways. For instance, by dumping so much poop in the ocean, we can see it from space, which is actually kind of impressive, especially considering China doesn't even have any Chipotles. But it goes beyond that. China makes more plastic waste than anywhere else in the world. And guess what? A huge portion of that winds up in, you guessed it, the Yangtze River, which then flows out to sea. There's so much plastic in the Yangtze River that the fish you catch there are already packaged. The Yangtze River alone makes up 55% of all the plastic waste that winds up in the oceans from rivers. And yes, China says it's taking action to curb plastic waste, but China also uses more coal than the rest of the world combined, and said they would take action to cut that down too. Guess how that's going? Which is rough, because by lying, that means Santa is going to leave coal in their stockings, which just makes the problem worse. So unsurprisingly, China's ocean waste problem is getting worse. In 2018, China's ocean waste surged by 27%. And that's according to official Chinese government figures, so take that with a grain of microplastic. River pollution isn't the only source of all this plastic. It's also the oceans. Specifically, plastic fishing nets make up a huge portion of ocean plastic. And guess who has massive fishing fleets scouring the seas? Yep, China. Guess they're tired of trying to get the fish in the Yangtze River out of that annoying plastic packaging. Why do they make this stuff so hard to open? Estimates of the total size of China's global fishing fleet vary widely. By some calculations, China has anywhere from 200,000 to 800,000 fishing boats, accounting for nearly half of the world's fishing activity. Why don't we know how big China's fishing fleets are? Because it's a state secret, since the Chinese government is so involved. See, besides catching fish for people to eat, these fleets are also a way for the Chinese Communist Party to expand its territorial control globally. Chinese fishing boats are notoriously aggressive and often shadowed, even on the high seas or in other countries' national waters, by armed Chinese Coast Guard vessels. Well, that sounds kind of shady. It does give me an idea for a new sport: competitive fishing. Now that's a relaxing way to spend an afternoon with Grandpa. It's a good thing Chinese fishing boats have security too, because other countries might not be too happy about these massive fishing fleets. Why? Because they're literally stripping the oceans bare. The seas around China have virtually no fish left. So, China's fishing fleet has gone global. Japan was wondering why so many North Korean fishing boats were washing up on their shores, some full of skeletons. They were being called ghost ships. And yes, this is real, not the plot of Pirates of the Pacific. Turns out, China illegally fished all the waters around North Korea until there wasn't anything left. The North Korean fishermen washing up in Japan apparently ventured too far from shore in a vain search for squid and perished. China's even polluting the oceans with skeletons, which is terrible, but hey, the Great Pacific Skeleton Patch would be an awesome name for a metal band. Thanks largely to China, 90% of the world's fish stocks have been fully exploited or are overexploited. And bad news for people eating the fish they catch. These fish have been eating all the tiny microplastic pieces floating around the ocean, partially from China's pollution. According to this study, all 21 species of sea fish and freshwater fish from Chinese waters were full of microplastic. This means that people eating fish have also been consuming plastics. It's the circle of life. At least it's a more natural way to have your body filled with plastic. And speaking of our beautiful planet and oceans that we want to preserve, this episode has been sponsored by Mova Globes. Mova Globes has been a sponsor of the show for years, which I love because their globes are amazing. Check out this technology. They spin automatically, powered by ambient sunlight, and when you put it back on its base, it corrects its motion. Mova has tons of other cool designs too. And for a limited time, you can get 10% off 6-inch and 8.5-inch Mova globes when you apply the code China Uncensored. So click the link in the description below and pick your favorite version. And when you buy a Mova globe, you'll also be supporting your favorite show about China. So click below to check out Mova globes and use the code China Uncensored. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.